and welcome to the next episode. Today, I want to cover the second part of the One Cognizant story, mainly around the big hurdles that we had faced. The first big hurdle we faced was the 500 millisecond goal that I had set for the team. I had spoken to several tech executives from the world's top companies, and almost all of them said this can't be done. But luckily, I had Kumaran Anandan, my current co-founder, who used to work for Microsoft and was on the Cognizant account as the chief architect. He and Jayashree Sridharan and my team decided to take on this challenge. They did a number of tests, proof of concepts and so on, and they came with a startling decision that we had to scrap and redo the architecture that we had done so far. Probably one of the most crucial decisions that we made. Had we persisted with our then path, we would most certainly have failed. I'm grateful to both Kumaran and Jayashree for doing that. Not just that. They did a server-side 500 millisecond. You can say they applied the asymmetry rule instead of looking at the full round trip, which was much harder because the network, the endpoint, so many things were out of our control. So the server side was proven and we were very happy about that, and that gave us the confidence. In fact, this 500 millisecond proved to be one of the thorniest goals we had attempted. Even when I left after three and a half years or so, we had still hit only 2 seconds on the round trip time. So that was a very difficult goal, but even 2 seconds was dramatically faster. Cognizant is a special place, and there's another example of that. Just as we rolled the MVP to production, our then CEO Francisco D'Souza tested the One Cognizant application from his home in New Jersey. We wanted to test in a house network situation far away from the data centers in India where One Cognizant was housed, and he came back and gave a thumbs up saying it was extremely fast. Now imagine a Fortune 500 CEO testing some MVP of the IT department. That's the kind of support that I had in Cognizant. The thing about the layering strategy that I mentioned last time, directly modifying the systems of record and redoing them would have been very, very expensive. So we had to build a system of engagement as a layer on top of the existing systems, because that's how we could cut the cost of the project. But then that gave rise to a few problems. The first one was the single sign-on problem. At that time in Cognizant, we did not have single sign-on. So associates had to sign into each application they use. So if they use 5 applications, they had to log in 5 times besides the network login itself. The prior attempts to go to management and get approval for a single sign-on had failed because it was just too expensive. Several $1 million due to the large number of associates that we had. Now with the One Cognizant layer, we had to do one more login. So the associates have to log into the 1C layer, and then that will redirect them to the state system of record, and that would obviously be very irritating, right? So we didn't know what to do, but then as luck would have it, our digital security practice came up with a homegrown single sign-on solution with which we were able to push to production. So this actually made it delightful because the network login would be inherited. People will go to One Cognizant and directly onto the SORs without having to sign on at all. So that was beautiful. We had rolled out the MVP in a stealth mode to 3,000 of our friends of the IT department, the 3,000 people or so. The feedback was good. They came back and said it was nice, but we found that they were not really coming back again and again and using it. As we started investigating, we found a big problem. As the control was transitioned from the system of engagement layer to the system of record layer, it would take anywhere from 10 to 15 seconds, right? That obviously is a deal breaker because we had set 500 milliseconds and so on. Again, Cognizant being a special place, we got a bunch of technical experts together and we solved that problem, and we were able to make the transfer from 1C to the sys or record instantly like that without any delays at all. So that problem got solved. The biggest problem came to be surprisingly with the one-click timesheet. We had made it 500% better and we were expecting people to adopt it in droves, but then it didn't go beyond the first 3,000 people that we had onboarded. So does the 500% not matter at all? This sort of thing threatens your entire strategy, right? You're trying to go down a certain path, and this affected us all, and we were trying to see what was happening. When we investigated, we found something very interesting. Associates would wait for the CFO's office to send a timesheet reminder. Now, this is actually a very interesting email. It comes from my boss, the CFO, his office, and it'll have a very threatening kind of tone. It'll say, if you don't fill the timesheet by this date, your salary could get dinged and so on. Why would anybody wait for that email, right? It doesn't make much sense. When we investigated, we found something very interesting. In that email, there was a link to the timesheet application that will directly take you to the step 3 of the 6-step journey that I had outlined last time. So that's why people were waiting for that email. Now that I have said this, you can guess what we did. We simply replaced that link with a one-click timesheet link. You click that, you go directly to your timesheet. The previous thing has been copied over. You just have to enter your hours and hit enter. Boom. That led the application to be spread virally. Within 100 days, 100,000 associates had used it. So that gave us real evidence and confidence that we were on the right track. And as I said last time, it led to the hockey stick growth with 700 applications, almost $1 billion of business impact. Now, I did tell you all last time about the thing that I had, the deal I had with Gordon, that he should not talk to me about efficiency for the next 3 years. At that time, I had thought efficiency and transformation were mutually exclusive. That's why I had made that request to Gordon. But the biggest surprise of all from this program turned out to be that our efficiency had become at least 500% better. There are a number of things we came across in our journey. This is why I advocate all of us to go after extreme objectives. I'll just give you one example of what we found. Previously, if you were building an IT application, first you had to forecast the peak user load and according to that plan the capacity, disaster recovery, load balancing and so on. And then you would raise the capital appropriation request for both the hardware and software that would go through several committees in the company and get approved. And once the car is approved, the infra department will procure the hardware and software resources and commission it. And that's 8 to 16 weeks per application not including the software development time. This is why things were slow. But in the One Cognizant world, we had built this, you can say, platform as a service or a private cloud where developers could just develop the application and push it to production. They don't have to worry about any of this. This whole car process was gone. There are cases in which we had developed applications in 48 hours and put them in production. And we could get, as I said, 700 applications in 3 years. This alone saved the company several $1 million. And you can say we use the asocial principle. We use the differences in peak load between the applications to serve all of them from the same platform. So that's how we saved a lot of money. We onboarded about 500 freshers into the team because One Cognizant app development was very intuitive and much easier to learn. So that shaved off the cost of development. So that's how we became more than 500% better. Now all of this would not have been possible without my team, right? I am giving here the IT team, the infra team and the apps team, just my direct reports. And below these people, there were hundreds of people working to make this whole journey happen. I'm grateful to all of them for their wonderful work on this program. I'm also grateful to our internal customers and stakeholders who supported us and the associates across the globe who adopted this platform without any change management or training. I'm very grateful to all of them. With that, I thank you all for listening to my coverage of the second part of the One Cognizant story.